people of Kiribati have always lived in close harmony with nature. We inhabited our islands and over the years changed the environment to suit our needs. We cultivated. We planted coconut trees. We built houses and we went fishing. But now, we are faced with environmental problems we have never seen before. This is what we will examine in this film, and we will look at some of the solutions to these environmental problems. The Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources Development is working together with SPREP, the South Pacific Regional Environment Program, on a long-term plan for the environment of Kiribati. This plan is called the National Environmental Management Strategy, or NEMS. The most important environmental issues in Kiribati are anticipated climate change and sea level rise, water conservation, waste disposal, sanitation, loss of vegetation, coastal erosion, and conservation of marine life in the lagoon and on the reef. Traditionally, fresh water in atolls comes from the freshwater lands below the coral islands. This water is protected from the salt sea water only by the coral rock. Coral rock, however, does not offer very much protection. Salt water can seep in and mix with the fresh water. The same goes for anything else that is deposited on the island. Animal waste and sewage can leak into the coral and down to the fresh water. Lead from dumped batteries, waste oil, and chemicals from spraying and from households can also end up in the fresh water. The contaminated water is harmful for human beings and can cause diseases. We should, as soon as possible, address the problem of contamination of the freshwater lanes. But we also need to conserve water and establish more rainwater catchments that can give us clean, fresh water. It is clear that solid and liquid waste on our island is a problem. But not only the freshwater lens is affected. It is a basic rule of nature that everything must go somewhere. We in Kiribati used to take from nature and give back to nature every day. Our houses, our fishing gear, our clothes, our canoes, and of course our food. Everything will re-enter the cycle of nature one day. Today, this is changing. We now use cans, tins, bottles, plastic bags, and many other materials every day. Much of this can be found in the form of rubbish on the road, behind the houses, on the beach and the reef, and even in the lagoon. Packaging of all sorts. Old tires, old cars, old machines, used oil, used chemicals. None of this re-enters the cycle of nature. However, some materials slowly break down into harmful toxic chemicals. Kiribati does not have many areas of unused land which can be turned into rubbish dumps. We need to address this problem of accumulating waste. We must reduce the import of packaging that cannot be recycled or which is not biodegradable. Recycling programs should be encouraged. One type of waste is sewage in the lagoon. The coastal lagoon water is contaminated, and this can cause diseases and health problems. Polluted water is not good for fishing or bathing or playing. It is dangerous. This is why, on South Tarawa, the sewage is now being let out into the open sea beyond the reef. We should work towards a total reduction of human waste going into the lagoon. More households must be connected to the central sewage system. The trees in Kiribati are important to us in many ways. Not only do they give us shadows from the sun and leaf for the wind. The trees protect the topsoil. This thin layer of soil has accumulated during thousands and thousands of years. The topsoil is what we use for growing taro and for gardening. But a growing population in Kiribati needs more firewood. In some places, trees are cut down without regard to the impact on the environment. When trees are cut down, the topsoil is exposed to the rain, and with time it is often washed away, out into the sea or the lagoon. Mangrove is another important form of vegetation. Many of the fishes in the lagoon depend on the mangrove for feeding at some stage in their lives. If mangrove is cut down for firewood or for reclamation of land, the number of fish in Kiribati could seriously decline. We must all think before we cut a tree down. Is it necessary? Is there any alternative? And participation in the replanting scheme must be encouraged so that we get more, not less, trees in Kiribati in the future. It is a natural process that the coastline of a coral atoll changes over time. Sometimes a sandbank is created and later it disappears. Currents, wave action, and even the wind contribute to these changes. Human activities can also create changes. The building of causeways can cause changes to the currents and natural movements of sand along the reef or in the lagoon. This, in turn, can create coastal erosion. In a time when we are already discussing how to cope with a possible rise in the sea level, the last thing we want to do is to cause coastal erosion ourselves. Projects which involve changes to the coastline must therefore be carefully planned, or we could see serious problems with unwanted coastal erosion. An environmental impact assessment must be carried out. This is to see what will happen to the environment if a proposed project is carried out. The lagoon is full of life. The corals are alive. They create the environment in which the reef fish can live. The reef is a hunting ground for bigger fish. If the corals die, the reef fish will go away. If the reef fish go away, the big fish will not be around anymore. This is another good reason for not polluting the lagoon. The coral, as well as the lagoon fishes, may die. But life in the lagoon is also threatened from overfishing. Every day, many hundred people go fishing. Until recently, this has not been a problem. However, the rising population demands more fish. There is now a problem with overfishing in the lagoon. Modern equipment like monofilament nylon nets and outboard motors are now being used. We can now catch more fish much faster than ever before. Elsewhere in the world, this has already caused severe overfishing. In Kiribati, we must avoid overfishing. We must preserve and protect our water resource. We must minimize the accumulation of solid waste. We must improve the standard of sanitation. We must avoid excessive loss of vegetation. We must protect the coastline from erosion. And we must use our marine resources sustainably. We in Kiribati inhabit some of the world's most beautiful islands. We have been here for thousands of years. This is why the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources Development, together with SPREP, is working on projects which will improve the environment. It depends on all of us what we leave behind for our children. Let us all work together to leave the future generations an even more beautiful Kiribati.